I transmigrated into a novel becoming an exceptionally beautiful extra. My sole purpose was to be dumped by the male lead, then leave the scene heartbroken with his money. So when the male lead broke up with me that day, I followed the script and buried myself under the covers. The male lead sighed helplessly, "Don't try to win me back by hurting yourself." As he lifted the blanket, he found me grinning ear to ear with a bank card pressed against my chest. Haha. "Take the money and leave. I don't like clingy women." Julian Carter indifferently pulled out a bank card and handed it to me. Gritting my teeth, I forced my gaze away from the bank card. "No, I want to take it. You know it's not about your money." After saying these words, I clenched my back teeth tightly, terrified that I might blurt out something I'd regret the next second. God knows how badly I wanted that bank card. I'd transmigrated into a domineering style novel. The male lead, Julian Carter, hired women to play his girlfriend during different periods, all to resist the arranged business marriage set by his elders and seize control over his marital choices. That's right, I'm just one of those background characters, except this particular extra likes to add some drama to her own role. Instead of taking the money and running like a sensible person, I decided to gamble on the chance to transform from a sparrow into a phoenix. In the end, I crashed and burned, didn't even get to keep the bank card. My God, that was $1 million. As soon as I finished speaking, I definitely noticed Julian Carter's hand subtly withdrawing a fraction. Cut the crap, take the money, and get lost. Julian Carter's character has always been cold and distant. He would give whatever extras asked for, yet still maintained that aloof distance with them. The next scene called for the extra to burrow under the covers and sob. Before turning away, I snatched the bank card with lightning speed, then pulled the quilt tightly over myself. "Vivivise my life is so bitter." As I spoke, I carefully pressed the bank card against my chest, unable to suppress the corners of my mouth from curling up. "I finally got my hands on $1 million. What are you doing now, putting on a show of suffering?" Through the thick quilt, I could barely hear Julian Carter's words. I could faintly sense his calm demeanor as he still tried to reason with me at this moment. "We had already agreed you to accompany me to events, and after a month, I'd give you $1 million, no further entanglements. Are you burying your head under the blanket, now trying to make me change my mind through self-torment?" Suddenly Julian Carter's words cut off, and I hadn't even noticed anything amiss yet. The blanket was suddenly pulled back, leaving me no time to retract my bared teeth. I came face to face with Julian Carter. "Sorry," I hurriedly adjusted my expression. A ripple seemed to crack across Julian Carter's usually composed face. "Your laughing desperation breeds its own joy." My hand trembled uncontrollably as I held the card. Just thinking about how I'll be able to live freely in this world once I finish acting out this role for the CEO, it's hard not to laugh. "You seem happy." I shook my head. "Not really." His gaze locked onto my hand, where I was clutching the bank card tightly. Suddenly feeling guilty, I hid my hand behind my back. Julian Carter averted his eyes. "Take the money, and don't entertain any unrealistic fantasies." With that, he left the room without looking back. Hearing the loud slam of the door, I could no longer hold back and collapsed onto the bed, rolling around in sheer delight. The thought of surviving long-term in this world made me decide to use the $1 million to make money grow. I allocated a portion of the funds and began searching for investable shops on the local business website. By chance, I spotted a convenience store up for transfer. The fee was reasonable, and it was located in a prime commercial area. The important thing is it's still in business. Buy it, and you can start making profits immediately. I took over the shop right away. I hired someone to work shifts with me, covering mornings and evenings. One night past 9 o'clock, most office workers had already left. I had some free time and was playing mobile games in the shop. Suddenly, I heard the sound of someone entering. There was a self-checkout machine by the door. The person seemed to have wandered around the shop before stopping right in front of me. His presence blocked most of the light, instantly dimming my phone screen by several shades. "I can't find what you're looking for." I looked up irritably, taking a few seconds to focus before recognizing a familiar face. Julian Carter, why was he here? "You're not here to take back that $1 million, are you?" In a few seconds, I was stunned. The character I was controlling died with a click. I put down my phone and asked somewhat awkwardly, "What are you here for?" It was already late autumn. Julian Carter wore a black overcoat, hands in his pockets, standing tall and straight. "Open a shop here," I nodded, thinking to myself, well, that's stating the obvious. He looked at my face and remained silent for a moment. He lowered his head as if utterly helpless with me. "Mia Moss, what you're doing is pointless. You act so sensible and generous in front of me. If my assistant hadn't told me you opened a shop right under our company building, I wouldn't have known you still haven't given up on me." The more I listened, the more I looked at him like he was insane. "Wait. So you're saying your company is here?" Julian Carter frowned, his face clouded with confusion. "Didn't you come here before?" "Damn it, I forgot about this detail. I'm caught in a dilemma. Technically, I'm just an extra in this novel's world. The male lead and I should be stayed in our separate lanes. How did we end up entangled in a subplot? Sorry about this. I'll transfer the shop ownership." Immediately biting back heartache, I quickly calculated how much money I'd lose by selling now. Julian Carter's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he didn't quite believe what I was saying. Seeing Julian Carter still hadn't left, I couldn't help but feel somewhat awkward. "Moving will take time. Do me a favor." Julian Carter suddenly spoke up, and I looked at him in surprise. He seemed unaccustomed to asking for favors, his face turning slightly away. "There's a family dinner at my place tomorrow. My parents don't believe I have a girlfriend." "Didn't you ask someone else? Haven't found the right person yet?" The book didn't seem to mention Julian Carter having any periods of being single. Just as I was lost in thought, Julian Carter cleared his throat softly, as if waiting for my reply. "I must help. I must." Seeing Julian Carter's utterly matter-of-fact expression, I raised my hand and made the universal gesture for money. "But Mr. Carter must be thinking of using money to ensure I don't get any ideas right. Now I've got the funds to change convenience stores. Julian Carter's gaze fell upon me. Cold and utterly devoid of emotion. Mia Moss, I remember you seemed quite heartbroken when we broke up. His words caught me off guard. It did seem to be true. But did it matter? I was just a background character. I only wanted to follow the original plot. He didn't press me further after saying that he averted his gaze. 800,000, that's my final offer. Deal 5. The next day, Julian Carter messaged to say he'd pick me up. I opened the supporting female character's wardrobe and suddenly felt stuck. Mia Moss's closet was filled with clothes that were too flashy. Since I was meeting Julian Carter's parents, it would be better to dress more modestly to match the occasion. So in the afternoon, I went to the mall and bought a ladylike dress. By evening, I took the passenger seat beside Julian Carter and caught the slight arch of his eyebrow. At the same time, I also noticed a faint trace of mockery in his eyes. What do you mean? I'm not the type to dwell on my own flaws. So naturally, I assumed the problem was his. Julian Carter averted his gaze. It's nothing. But there's clearly something in your eyes. Feeling puzzled, I fastened my seatbelt. Julian Carter's parents' home was a manor located in the distant suburbs of the city. Today might be a special occasion. They'd invited quite a few people. The moment I stepped out of the car, I heard the sound of a saxophone coming from near the house. Just as I was about to walk inside, Julian Carter cleared his throat softly behind me. Then, he crooked his arm. Right, today my role was to play his girlfriend. Money as hard to earn, work as tough to do. I placed my hand on his arm, and only then did I understand why Julian Carter had looked at me that way when I first got in the car. You're clever. You knew my parents prefer modest girls. I froze for a few seconds before realizing he was talking about my clothes. This outfit is expensive, costs several $1,000s. I was just bluffing. Actually, it's only a few $100. Spending thousands for Julian Carter, not a chance. Julian Carter's expression paused slightly. Not expensive. It's just not really worth it. The only benefit is that it's perfect for meeting parents. Why does that sound so strange? I'm doing it for the 100,000. Julian Carter curled his lips into a smirk, his expression clearly saying I understand everything. 6. Unlike Julian Carter's parents were unexpectedly kind. They were busy attending to other guests. When they saw Julian Carter bringing me over, their faces also broke into kindly smiles. Julian's mother took my hand and asked gently, you're the girl who went shopping with Carter at the mall last time, aren't you? I glanced at Julian Carter. He pressed his lips together and gave a slight nod. The system reminded me that Mia Moss had once dragged Julian Carter on a shopping spree at the mall, an incident that had been noticed by Carter's relatives. Miss Moss doesn't seem to have a job? I nodded. Mia Moss's character was originally written as a money-loving woman. Just a background character. The author probably couldn't be bothered to give her a complete backstory. Now Julian's mother is asking this, is she trying to pick a fight with me? Truly the epitome of high society emotions, so well regulated. Seeing my admission, Julian's mother's smile faded slightly. When you're dating, spending money on your girlfriend is perfectly normal. But wouldn't you get bored without a job? Julian's mother probed with her words. Before I could respond, Julian placed his hand on my shoulder. Mom, Mia isn't used to working on the surface. Julian Carter was speaking up for me. But in reality, he was secretly undermining me. What a toxic man. I didn't say anything outwardly, but I secretly stepped on Julian Carter's foot. Julian Carter's face darkened slightly, feeling quite pleased. I opened my handbag and pulled out a business card. Mrs. Carter, although I don't have a regular job, I'm running my own store. Julian's mother unexpectedly accepted my business card. What kind of store? She asked. A convenience store. I'm still working on expanding my customer base. As I spoke, I firmly linked arms with Julian Carter. For example, the coffee served every afternoon at Carter's company is supplied by me. 7. How could I? Julian Carter was about to retort but stopped himself, mindful of his mother's presence. Although the company has a coffee machine, the flavor could certainly use some variety. Mrs. Carter smiled and nodded, saying it's just a small favor. If we can help Mia, we should help Mia. I couldn't tell if she was genuinely helping me or just being polite. Well, since she put it that way, I decided to take the opportunity. I looked at Julian Carter with hopeful eyes. It's fine, Julian. The convenience store sandwiches sell pretty well. By the way, given our relationship, we don't need a contract for the coffee supply. I blinked and Julian Carter's expression visibly tightened. His eyes warned me, but fortunately, Mrs. Carter caught on her face, revealing a meaningful expression. Julian, you should give Mia some assurance. Though Julian's mother spoke politely, there was still a hint of distance in her eyes. He probably didn't take a fancy to me anyway, just thought Julian ought to give his female companion some assurance. After exchanging a few words, she went off to attend to other guests. Julian Carter pulled me aside. Quite clever of you. 100,000 still not enough. I yanked my arm free from his grip. Of course, it's not enough. Such big ambitions. I surveyed the surrounding guests with a cold glance. Everyone's dresses look incredibly expensive. What a perfect opportunity to expand my client base. What are you looking at? Julian Carter. He waved his hand in front of my face. Nothing, I retorted, crossing my arms and shooting him a sidelong glance. Julian Carter shrugged. I'm going over there to say hello, you. Before Julian Carter could finish speaking, I immediately plastered on an ingratiating smile. Let us go together. I linked arms with Julian Carter, his eyes filled with complete understanding. After making the rounds, I confidently explained my convenience store plans to everyone without hesitation. Out of respect for Julian Carter's reputation, everyone reluctantly gave me their contact information. I giggled without noticing Julian Carter's increasingly dark expression. I only realized something was off with Julian Carter when I got into his car. Perhaps it was the confined space that made Julian Carter's oppressive mood particularly noticeable. But I mistakenly thought he was just tired after all. I was exhausted too. He was driving while I dozed off directly. Then suddenly, he pulled the car over to the side and stopped. The sudden brake jolted me awake. What's the matter? Julian Carter's face puffed up with anger. I really don't understand how someone like you could exist, eyeing my family fortune while wanting to start your own business. How much money do you actually need? His question left me speechless. You're after my family fortune, aren't you? Julian Carter's eyes seemed to glisten with moisture, his gaze unconsciously evading mine when he looked at me. Then, what else could you possibly want by working so hard to please my mother? I haven't forgotten how you begged me to stay on the day we broke up. My smile froze instantly. If I remember correctly, it was you who paid me to pretend to be your girlfriend. Julian Carter's expression faltered. In the end, wasn't it you who wanted to get back together with me? Seeing my silence, a flash of triumph crossed Julian Carter's face. That haughty demeanor of his resurfaced once again. Not talking anymore. I rolled down the window. Sorry, I think I'm gonna throw up. Now it was Julian Carter's turn to be speechless. After a moment, he turned his head away from me. Get out of the car, he said. This is the rich neighborhood. Where the hell are the people? How long would I have to walk to find a place where I could catch a ride? By saying that, wasn't he just counting on me to back down? I unbuckled my seatbelt. A person must fight for their dignity. The moment I slammed the car door shut, something suddenly occurred to me. I knocked on the window, and it was rolled down by Julian Carter. Now that I've thought it through, Mr. Carter, I'll come back in a couple of days for the coffee supply contract. I assume a company as large as yours wouldn't possibly. Before I could finish the phrase, go back on your word, Julian Carter stepped on the gas and vanished from my sight. Never mind, I'll come knocking on your door myself. The temperature has dropped severely recently. The midnight chill is practically incomparable to when you first step outside. Julian Carter, no wonder you're the male lead in a novel that requires desperate wife chasing. With a personality like yours, it's only right that the female lead doesn't choose you. While cursing him vehemently, in my heart, I rubbed my arms for warmth. The streetlights were spaced far apart, so the light that fell on me wasn't very bright. Being outdoors, without seeing anyone around, really gave me the creeps. Just then a girl on an electric motorcycle suddenly stopped in front of me. She wore a pink helmet, her profile sharp and clean cut. For some reason, the moment I saw her, I felt she was someone who could endure hardships. While I was lost in thought, she turned her head, revealing an exceptionally beautiful face. Miss, do you need help? My God, this is indeed a novel-esque world. Even a random girl I meet is so stunning. I'm afraid my hesitation might make me miss this chance to help. I hastily lifted my skirt and climbed onto the back of the electric scooter. Need, I can only take you to the nearest bus stop. After all, I don't have an extra helmet. It'd be trouble if we ran into the police. Thank you so much. I waved at her as I got off. Just as she was about to leave, I suddenly realized I hadn't even asked for her name. After all, I'm just an extra with a soul. If I can help her in the future, I definitely will. Miss, what's your name? The girl twisted the throttle without turning her head. Chloe Fisher. My hand froze. Chloe Fisher, wasn't that the name of the novel's female lead? 2 days passed, and I still hadn't heard from Julian Carter about the contract. He didn't answer when I called him. Is this guy trying to skip out on paying? No way. I won't let this golden goose slip through my fingers. I showed up at Julian Carter's company dressed all in black. I originally planned to wait in Julian Carter's office, but his assistant told me he was downstairs conducting interviews. I arrived downstairs again, separated by a glass wall from the solemn third-round interviews. Inside, the benches outside were now empty. It seemed the interviews were nearing their end. I stood to the side, and before long someone emerged, looking dejected. The person raised their head slightly, and our eyes met. Oh, it's you, she said with a smile as she walked toward me. I thought for a moment, yes, Chloe Fisher should indeed be interviewing at Carter Group today. Judging by her expression, she must have hit a wall with Julian Carter. I instinctively glanced at Julian Carter, who happened to catch my eye through the slightly ajar door. That look sent chills down my spine. I shivered and turned to Chloe. How did the interview go? Not great, Chloe sighed. Just like in the original story, Chloe performed poorly in this interview due to overwhelming nervousness. This also made the male lead initially mistake Chloe for being just a pretty face. I patted Chloe on the shoulder and said, hey, there are plenty of good companies out there. Worst case, we'll go somewhere else. Chloe looked at me with a slightly surprised expression. Huh? But I actually passed. 11. This is a bit strange, as the people inside came out one by one. Chloe was somewhat wary of the company's executives at this moment. Let us talk next time, she said before walking straight out. Julian Carter walked up to me, watching Chloe's retreating figure thoughtfully. Then he shifted his gaze to my face, as if there was something dirty on it. What do you want from me? What do you think? I snapped, pulling the drafted contract from my bag and slapping it against his chest. Julian Carter picked up the contract, glanced at it, and frowned deeply. I don't understand what you're doing clutching onto such a trivial amount of money. His tone was disdainful, and it didn't sit well with me. A $10 coffee for hundreds of employees at Carter Corporation can earn thousands in a day. You call this small change? Julian Carter seemed somewhat angry. If you're going to start your own business, don't harbor unrealistic fantasies anymore. I didn't quite understand, but I was utterly shocked. Could it be about me suddenly changing my mind about not moving the convenience store? To sign the contract, I had to swallow my anger. Fine, whatever. After all, you're the sugar daddy. Whatever you say goes. Julian Carter seemed even angrier when he heard me say that. But I was even happier after getting the contract with his signature. 12. Ever since securing that order from Carter Corporation, I hired a few more people and set my sights on convenience stores in another commercial district of the city. After securing the corresponding storefront, I pulled out the contact information ID collected at Julian Carter's family banquet. I introduced myself first, then asked if their company needed coffee supplies for employees. Without Julian Carter present, I carried no weight in their eyes. Thus they didn't treat me kindly, no matter this convenience store could just operate quietly as it was. I'm planning a new business venture. After much deliberation, I've set my sights on a restaurant. This restaurant seems to have been quite popular over a decade ago, but with the emergence of many trendy new restaurants, it got left behind in the dust. Located in the suburbs, it's been sitting abandoned for many years. After several months of hard work with my team, we're finally ready to open for business. To boost the restaurant's reputation, after much deliberation, I thought of Julian Carter again. Having ignored him for several months, I had no idea how far things had progressed between him and Chloe. With a probing heart, I sent him a message. Mr. Carter, I've opened a restaurant. If you have any business meetings recently, you can arrange them here. I can offer you a complimentary meal. The reply came swiftly. Agreed. 13. Julian Carter said he would come the very next evening. When Julian Carter arrived at this restaurant, he didn't harbor any suspicions. I served the finest wines and dishes the restaurant could offer. Midway through their conversation, I even entered to propose a toast. Mr. Davis, this is Boss Moss. Please take good care of him. It might be my imagination, but I felt Julian Carter's gaze held a peculiar glint when he said those words. Whatever, even if he genuinely intended to help me expand my connections. With him speaking up, even Mr. Davis, who was conversing with him, gave me a polite smile. I took out my phone. Mind if we take a photo together? Julian Carter's expression stiffened, but Mr. Davis eased the tension. All right, let us take one photo. Then I successfully obtained our group picture. I immediately forwarded it to every contact in my phone. Along with it, I attached a rather formal invitation letter. The new restaurant is now open. Reservations are welcome. As expected, the moment Julian Carter's photo was displayed, several people immediately asked me about available dining times. I cheerfully scheduled appointments for several executives. Before long, Mr. Davis left with a beaming smile. Julian Carter draped his suit jacket over his arm, his gaze lingering on me with a hint of hesitation. Goodbye, Mr. Carter. Since I got some benefits today, I'll give him a smile. Julian Carter suddenly leaned against the wall, staring at me intently. Speak, what do you want? Why are you pulling this trick again? I pursed my lips helplessly, reminding myself to calm my anger. Mr. Carter, I just wanted to thank you for taking care of me before. I quickly changed direction. What if Julian Carter found out I was the real owner? Here, what if he retaliates? The next moment, Julian Carter stepped closer, trapping me between him and the wall. His eyes burned with determination. Mia, Moss, don't play hard to get with me. Chloe Fisher, you've been by my side for months. You must know quite a bit about me, don't you? 14. Chloe Fisher. Wait, I think I suddenly understand why. No wonder the plot changed. Originally, Chloe, who failed the interview, was supposed to join another company, but Julian Carter kept her. So, he thought she was a spy. I planted. Chloe must have suffered terribly in his company. You're overthinking it. Chloe isn't at all the person you imagine her to be. Stop pretending. I saw everything that day when she gave you a ride on her electric scooter. Recalling my first encounter with Chloe, I couldn't help but ask, if you saw us, why didn't you offer me a ride? Even if I hadn't seen you, didn't you find someone else you knew to give you a ride anyway? I crossed my arms. If I really knew someone, would I have settled for someone riding an electric motorcycle? The thought made me furious, but seeing Julian Carter still had considerable utility value. I could only swallow my anger. Stop changing the subject. One more question. Did you send Chloe over? No. Whether Julian Carter understood or not, he finally let go of me. Your mouth is really stubborn. On the 15th, Julian Carter left coldly. A few days later, I received a call from Julian Carter. When I answered, it was Chloe's voice on the other end. Hello, Mr. Carter is drunk. Could you come pick him up, please? I was utterly confused where Chloe named a restaurant. Oh, then just hire a designated driver. There was a pause of several seconds on the other end of the line. Mr. Carter is insisting on seeing you. You'd better come over. Now I understood. Chloe was just playing along with Julian Carter's act. Money is hard to earn, work is tough to do. I put on my coat and headed to the restaurant Chloe mentioned. Julian Carter leaned back in his chair, his face flushed red, though it was clear he hadn't drunk himself into oblivion. Chloe picked up her bag, looking at me with an awkward expression. It's you, she said, perhaps noticing the reluctance on my face. Chloe paused mid-step as she was about to leave. Julian Carter knocked on the table. Hurry up and get out already. Chloe looked slightly annoyed as she whispered to me, I'll wait for you outside. I could tell Chloe was worried about me. The moment Chloe left, Julian Carter let out a soft chuckle from his throat. Still claim you don't know each other? She as clearly worried. You can't be trusted. I pulled out a chair and sat down. What do you want to talk about? Julian Carter took a deep breath. See, you still can't just ignore me. These recent encounters with Julian Carter have made me realize something more and more. It seems Julian Carter has improper intentions toward me. But I'm just a background character. My mother has a somewhat favorable impression of you. Hearing this only confirmed my suspicions. Wait a minute, Mr. Carter. I think you're overthinking this. 16. Julian Carter's expression turned cold almost instantly. Mia Moss, when given an out, you should take it. Confess to me now and I'll treat you well. My smile froze. Even if you gave me 100 chances, I couldn't accept them. I don't like you. Fine, then don't bother me anymore. I really want to say it was you who called me over, but on second thought, I'd better drop it. That's just how the CEO male lead is receiving a single glance, makes him wonder if someone has fallen for him. No use saying more. I quickly shut the door and ran outside. It was already deep winter. Chloe waited at the main gate, wearing only a thin coat, her face flushed red from the cold. Seeing me leave, she relaxed. Did Mr. Carter do anything to you? I shook my head. No. What's your relationship with Mr. Carter? It's a bit complicated. Seeing my hesitation, Chloe asked hesitantly. Exes. I shook my head vigorously. No, I just took his money to pretend to be his girlfriend. Chloe's expression instantly relaxed. I knew it. Who would want to be with someone like him? 17. I caught the insincerity in her words. You don't like him. According to the original plot, shouldn't the two of them have developed some emotional connection by now? What's more, the moon favors those who linger by the water, with them seeing each other every day. Shouldn't sparks have flown by now? Hearing these words, Chloe waved her hands faster than anyone else. Ugh, I can't keep doing this job anymore. I could tell Chloe despised Julian Carter. After all, Julian Carter thought Chloe was a spy. I planted. He must have put on quite the act in front of her. Thinking of this, I feel so sorry for Chloe. If it's really too much, just quit and use your experience at Carter Group to find another company. Chloe high-fived me. We were totally on the same wavelength. Chloe and I exchanged contact info, and soon after she resigned and immediately joined a design firm. For some reason, it felt like accidentally altering the story's trajectory had made the plot development strangely unpredictable. Fortunately, in the original novel, Chloe had to endure the male lead's abuse for a long time before discovering her passion for design. Now she's found her life's purpose ahead of schedule anyway, while Julian Carter hasn't discovered that I'm the one who opened this restaurant. I'm going all out to attract customers. However, the good times didn't last long. Julian Carter eventually found out. 18. One day, while I was receiving a company CEO in the restaurant's main hall, Julian Carter suddenly appeared. During this period, my restaurant has indeed been the dark horse of the city. Because what I specialize in is VIP service and extreme privacy. Every customer who comes must register as a member to enter. Julian Carter suddenly appeared. I was going to pretend to be nonchalant as well. But unfortunately, the CEO who brought him called out to me, Boss Moss. My smile froze on my face, though I'd deliberately instructed my employees not to mention my position. I'd forgotten these people had spent years navigating corporate battles. With just one glance, they could tell who was really in charge. Julian Carter's expression remained unchanged. Apparently, he'd known before arriving. In that case, does this visit mean you're here to settle accounts with me? I took out a bottle of fine liquor, saying it was a gift for them. I seized the opportunity to observe Julian Carter's expression. He seemed to be in decent spirits. Little did I know that my gesture of presenting liquor would be interpreted by other executives as an attempt to curry favor. He started getting handsy with me. I forced a stiff smile as I pulled my hand away. Enjoy your meal, everyone. But that CEO still wasn't ready to let me off the hook. He raised a glass. Come have a drink with us, Boss Moss. Your restaurant just opened. You must be desperate for customers. I was about to refuse when Julian Carter propped an elbow on the table, resting his chin on his hand. He let out a low chuckle. Not just having a drink. I bet this proprietress would be willing to keep you company all night if you asked. Only men find this kind of crude table banter amusing. I took a deep breath, reminding myself not to cause trouble, and softened my tone. Julian, don't be angry. I'm at work. Julian Carter's expression relaxed, slightly seizing the advantage. I pressed on. It's just been a while since I reached out, hasn't it? I'll explain everything properly later. Julian Carter hesitated to speak, then finally let out a disdainful humph. The CEO understood the implied relationship I hinted at and immediately became somewhat awkward. Seizing the chance to escape the moment, I stepped out of the room. My loathing for Julian Carter multiplied infinitely. After this dinner concluded, I went to the private room to find Julian Carter. He didn't think he had done anything wrong, just condescendingly accused me. Mia Moss, what grand scheme are you plotting in that mind of yours? Last time you called me over just to get free advertising, didn't you? No wonder several people were looking at me strangely and congratulating me. Julian Carter's eyes seemed to burn with anger. What he said was true, but so what? I really can't stand living like this for even one more day. It's time to end this, Mia Moss. You've been playing me. 19. I didn't haven tea. I always said I don't like you. Julian Carter's expression froze, so it was just me being presumptuous after all. Otherwise, what? Julian Carter snapped in humiliated fury. Do you believe I can't just buy this entire restaurant? His gaze swept across every detail of the restaurant's decor. That same look of absolute certainty again. My head suddenly felt slightly dizzy. Somehow, I actually felt like opposing him. Go ahead and buy it if you can. He was struck by this unexpected answer. Do you look down on the Carter Group, or? I found it somewhat amusing, Mr. Carter. I don't know why you think your verbal threats would scare me. I've put a lot of effort into this restaurant, and I know it's quite profitable. Now giving it up would truly be a shame. But acquiring this restaurant won't be that easy. Only when $20 million hits my account might I barely start to believe you a little. Julian Carter's face was filled with disbelief. He raised the corner of his mouth and let out a light chuckle. Mia Moss, you might be the only person in the world who thinks I can't afford a restaurant. I smiled. Without speaking, Julian Carter looked at me with seriousness, his expression gradually changing. Mia Moss, just watch how many more days your boss's dream can last. With that harsh remark, Julian Carter walked away. I couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed heavily to the ground. 23 days later, I woke up again to find an additional $20 million deposited into my account. This is Julian Carter transferring money directly into my private account without any remarks. Seems he is showing off that he truly has $20 million. I immediately had my lawyer draft a property transfer contract under my name. The next day, my lawyer and I went to Julian Carter's company. Julian Carter was leaning back in his chair, looking utterly composed. His expression froze for a split second when he saw the lawyer produce the contract. Do you really think I care about that restaurant? I crossed my arms. I've already received 20 million by all rights. The restaurant is yours now. With that, I gave him a slight bow. Come to think of it, I should thank Mr. Carter for his generosity. Overnight, I became a millionaire, and you acquired a restaurant. We both win. Julian Carter snorted coldly, nearly tearing the contract apart. I quickly added, advising Mr. Carter to just sign the contract. Because before coming here, I had already informed everyone on my contact list that Mr. Carter had taken over this restaurant. I opened my phone, scrolled through the list, not only sent a message, but also attached a screenshot of Julian Carter's money transfer. By the way, I still have the surveillance footage of you cozying up to me at the restaurant last time. I'm sure Mr. Carter wouldn't want to appear on the internet in that light, would he? Julian Carter's hand paused me, Amos. So all this time you've just been scheming to get money from me, is that it? Took you long enough to figure it out? Julian Carter's eyes turned icy. I have plenty of other ways to deal with you. I was well prepared. After all, through my interactions with him, I found Julian Carter's flaws to be glaringly obvious. Narcissistic, selfish. What kind of decent person cracks vulgar jokes at the dinner table? I've already made 20 copies of what you said at the restaurant that day. With just one tap on my phone, it'll be sent to every major media outlet. Mr. Carter, with all your power and influence, must care more about that 1 in 10,000 chance of things going wrong than I do. My eyes sparkled as Julian Carter rubbed his furrowed brow and finally signed the document. Get lost, he would fulfill every demand of this insignificant side character, yet maintained an icy distance all the same. Ever since Julian Carter first visited my restaurant, I felt an unusual exhaustion weighing me down. As a mere background character, even speaking to the system required queuing for an appointment. 3 days later, the system finally gave me the answer. My appearance had twisted the original storyline of the novel. The more I interacted with the male lead, the greater the physical damage I suffered. But this setback didn't deter me. If I left prematurely, the system might have enough time to restore the storyline to its original state. Then, under the system's interference, Chloe would still fall in love with Julian Carter. I really like Chloe, so I don't want to see her suffer like that. Now Chloe has entered the design industry. She loves ahead of schedule. I heard the jewelry she designed even won a small national award. As I drove my newly purchased luxury car on the highway, the setting sun blazed like fire, illuminating the world's scenery with even greater vividness. The system suddenly spoke up. Please evaluate the male protagonist of the novel. No comment. Being less narcissistic would do more good than anything else. I turned on the music. Carefree days were coming, and I deserved every bit of it. The end.